remind yourself of and be kind to you. Coming from those questions and look at it and really like being the kindness that you keep, like, okay, this is it. When I went through my list and, I don't see much changing and what it is that I would like to have a breakup. Is this a kindness to you? Yes, to me it was, and maybe it is for you. So what steps can you take now to have that happening? And with ease, right? I think you already mentioned, Paula, that we are so used to start to do drama when there's a breakup, right? It's, the family and what would it be and this and that. So what if with you looking at being kind to you and even to your ex?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Relationships Done Different podcast. My name is Paula Peralta, and I am here with the beautiful Leandra Costa. Hello, gorgeous.
Hello, Paula. Hello, everyone.
So today we are going to dive into a topic that may not seem like it's a relationship done different topic, but what you'll find is that there is nothing more relationship done different than a conversation that we're calling breaking up is easy-ish. And I think it's really funny because, we talk so much about finding someone that works for you or creating a great relationship or developing the relationship with yourself. But I think not enough people talk about breakups. And we all have an idea, when we say breakup, everyone immediately goes into a specific sort of mindset, right? Like the tears and the depression and the fights and the I just can't get out of bed and the Netflix and ice cream and all of those things. But I am so excited to have this conversation with Leandra because I also know that Leandra has a very different perspective on breakups. So Leandra, let's talk a little bit about that. How do we make breakups easy-ish?
I love the introduction. And yes, it is. I get it's really by asking questions and choosing for you. What would you like to have it from now on in that relationship? Is that time to change? Is that time to finish? And how can I make it easy for me and for everyone else involved with it? I would say questions, and being that with yourself, what would I like to have and create from now on, ending this relationship. It's a breaking up, right? It's never, it's, to me, at least, to my breakup, is nothing that forever. I'm not going to see my ex anymore, or, maybe because we have a kid and maybe there's people there that will never need to see their, exes. But for me, using those being questioned and really choosing for me, and that creates a lot of ease it created with my breakup 2 years ago.
I love that. I think like you said that you said something really interesting there at the beginning of that is what needs to change and what can you choose different? And I think it's so interesting because one of the tools that we talk about is destroying and uncreating your relationship. And the thing about, breaking up is easy-ish is I think there's a spectrum of breaking up, right? Mm-hmm. There is that do you need to destroy and uncreate your relationship and look at all the places where you have a projected point of view about what this relationship should look like, what hasn't measured up, what are your expectations, checking all of that and really just throwing it out the window and being okay, so today, clean slate, what is it that I'd like to create my relationship as, is definitely one of the tools. So it's literally just everything that my relationship was, every point of view, every expectation that I have about what it's going to be, all of that, I'm going to destroy and uncreate it. And then it's now what's next, what's new, what would I like to create? And then the other thing is that if you are in a place where you're I don't know that this relationship is the relationship for me, or it might be done and something does need to change. One of the things you could do is you can actually make a list of what are the 8 to 10 things that would have to change in order for this relationship to work. whatever that looks like, no judgment, as ridiculous as you think it is. They've got to squeeze the toothpaste from the end versus the middle, or
lower the sit down when he goes to the toilet.
all of that, or like they have to give me more compliments, or we've got to have sex more often, like whatever that is, right? Like if there were no holds barred, 8 to 10 things like that would actually create the relationship is greater for you. And then you actually have to go back and look at that and say, is this something that my partner can actually deliver? Not from judgment, not from like they're a jerk, or whatever it is, but like truly get present with that energy and be like, am I asking my partner for something that they actually are unable to deliver? And if you get a yes, then for me, that's like one step closer to like, okay, so it's actually an unkindness to ask my partner to deliver something that they're not capable of delivering. And so if I've got this,
and for you to expect, right, Paula?
Absolutely.
And I'm always expecting someone to go and then put down the toilet seat. Well, what if you know already that person is not going to do it?
Yeah. So that's the thing, is it's like when you look at that list, and it's like you got to be honest. And if it's not going to work, it's not going to work. But that for me, like making that list and really like checking it twice actually gives a space to be like, okay, this actually isn't going to work. And so from there, it's like, well, do you want to actually, like, if you get in your car every morning to start it and like it won't start because if something's broken, like, are you going to keep the car? No, you're going to like get rid of the car, probably buy a new one, maybe start walking to work, take the bus, whatever. Like you're going to make a change and you're going to do something different. So what change is available? What else can you choose in or out of your relationship that would actually create the future that you desire? Because if it's called a breakup because it's broken. So like there's something about it that's not working. So what is it that you'd actually like to choose? And does this relationship contribute to your future? And I think for me, that's what starts to change that, like, oh, trauma and drama of like, oh, my heart is broken, into the like, I'm actually making a choice that's going to create the future that I desire to have.
Yeah. And also, remind yourself of and be kind to you. Coming from those questions and look at it and really like being the kindness that you keep, like, okay, this is it. When I went through my list and, I don't see much changing and what it is that I would like to have a breakup. Is this a kindness to you? Yes, to me it was, and maybe it is for you. So what steps can you take now to have that happening? And with ease, right? I think you already mentioned, Paula, that we are so used to start to do drama when there's a breakup, right? It's, the family and what would it be and this and that. So what if with you looking at being kind to you and even to your ex? I remember talking to my ex, and he was really unsure that he could take care of our son. I was like, no, you can. I'm sure you can. You can be a single parent. And that and I could say, like, are you sure? Yeah. So of course I had that space. We had that space to have that conversation. But that to me was also a kindness, that we're looking at each other and said, we will be fine. We can take care of each other and ourselves and together parent and have my son's back and be present with it.
Yep. For sure. And I think that's what's so cool about like Relationships Done Different for me is about choice. Like it's about choosing the relationships that work for you, your relationship with your body, with the earth, your relationship with you, with partners, with business partners, with all of those things. It's like really looking in that and getting super, super clear. So, okay, Leandra, I've had a breakup and I've never heard of the tools that we're talking about with Relationship Done Different. And I'm going into the trauma and drama and I just don't see a way out. So don't try to console me, but what sort of tool, like what's that first step towards maybe having a little bit of space around it?
Well, I would say we can use that too. We're talking about tools of access consciousness with Relationships Done Different, and you can always go to who does that belong to, because you're breaking up from someone else. What if that all the trauma and drama, all the unsureness is not yours? It's like, who does that belong to? And if it's light, it's not yours. So what if you start then to say, okay, no, I'm actually, it's actually ease. It's like I can be happy. I can do something and create something different here and have more of the space that I know I can have. That to me is what I would look into using it and being that question.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think also just like, if I were creating my own reality today, Like, what would I choose? And the thing is, it's not bad to cry and, you know, have the moment. Like, it's not that that's wrong. It's just like, when it's served its purpose, what else is possible? Like, what else would you like to choose? And indulge. Like, if you're going to be miserable, indulge in it. And be the most miserable, like, broken up person ever, and then be like, okay, cool, now what would I like to create? Like, if I were choosing for me and truly actually choosing for the future that I desire, what is it that I would choose? And I think that's a cool kind of,
I love that,
bridge into possibilities
yeah,
that are beyond a lot of like what we see in the movies and in the media about breakups. So Leandra, I know that I've actually heard you tell a really cool story about when you broke up your relationship and your son and kind of his commentary on it, because I know that a lot of times with breakups, one of the biggest challenges people have is because of like kids, right? Which understandably, like having children, sometimes it changes, or not sometimes, it always changes things. And so can you tell us a little bit about what happened when you were breaking up your 20-year relationship?
So that was actually an episode that was quite funny, because we have myself and his dad spoke with him, and of course he went to drama. He's a kid, and he's like, "Are we going to be okay?" He's like, "Yeah, we're going to be fine. Is there anything?" And we just want to make sure that it's not your fault. It's just between us, the adults, and it's not working. We're not happy with each other. And he's like, and we're like, "Is there anything that you'd like to ask us?" And he's like, "Yes, just make sure that you live, near each other." You're like, "Okay, cool." But that's something else, Paula. So we spoke about that. We spoke with him, and then in that afternoon, he went to my ex's mother's house, and he was playing. Right, he was in the trampoline playing, and his grandma was there. He's like, "Oh, do you know that my parents are going to get divorced?"
Oh my gosh, amazing.
And he just broke up with so much ease to his, grandma. And of course, she was like, "What?" But to me, it's like that lightness as well that we could bring to him. It's like, everything's going to be fine. You still we love you, and we're going to be your family. We're just a different type of family, and we're going to live near each other. So that was, and it is still something that he knows that he can count on us, even if we are separate. And he sees also that his parents are a little bit happier now that they are not together.
Yeah. No, and it's definitely, that's the thing, is it's like, I think so often people are like, "Oh, but the kids, like, they're going to be devastated," and it's like, no, kids are pretty resilient and like way more energetically aware, I think, than adults let themselves be. And so I think more often it's like we project that trauma and drama, and so when the kids are having the dramatics, I would venture to say that more often it's them just reflecting like the expectations of the parents.
Yep.
I love it. So one of the other things too that I've noticed is that a lot of times, like, you might have a breakup, and I will say that I went through a pretty big breakup after a long-term relationship. And big breakup, what does that even mean? But for me, it was a big choice. Like, a lot of people were sort of like rooting for us and like really thought like, "Oh, you guys are so perfect and you're so in love." And so for me, like, the choice to break up the relationship was really interesting, because there wasn't necessarily anything wrong, right? Like, it wasn't like a traditional, like, my partner wasn't abusive. They actually like adored me. And there wasn't anything that I could be like, "Here's all the check marks of the reasons why this relationship should be broken up." I just knew that there was something else possible. And I could feel myself starting to like break, sort of like cut off parts of myself in order to stay in the relationship, because my life was growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I would come home, and it was like still this very like traditional sort of like, "You're the wife and I'm the husband, and here's like just these kind of like unspoken expectations a lot of times." And even when we spoke about them, it was like clear that it just was a difference of perspective. And so I think it was really interesting for me to have to say like, "Hey, there's nothing wrong, and I have no desire to like give you the list of all the reasons why this relationship won't work. Like, I just like, I'm choosing something different." And I think for me, being able to approach that breakup from that perspective created a lot of space for me, and actually eventually my partner, because I knew that I was actually moving towards something that matched the energy of what I desired my life to be. And I will say that my life exploded, like that choice in a good way, like in the choice to have my own back harder than anyone else, like that in and of itself changed the game for me. And it showed me that energy of what it looks like to have my own back. And you know, everyone's got something to say when a breakup happens, like, oh, I thought you guys were so perfect, or like, oh, well, if that relationship didn't work, there's no hope for the rest of us, or right, like I had someone say to me like, oh, I just don't want you to die old, alone, and broke, like
I was gonna say, I'm really sorry, you and him. I'm like, yeah, no, we're fine.
Yeah. Well, like I think I heard someone once say that like no good relationship ends in divorce. So like I'm like, obviously, like, you know, it may have served its purpose and it contributed what it contributed when it could contribute it. And I think also too, like knowing that when you make a choice like that, it's not easy. It can have an ease to it. And like when you make that choice, like that choice to have your back so hard, even though it's hard, and even though sometimes it's emotionally like a little stressful or whatever that is, like the universe sees that and immediately rewards it. And I think that's what's really cool about this conversation around breaking up is easy-ish, is that it is like, it's a choice that creates greater if you're choosing to allow the universe and consciousness to contribute to all of it.
Yes, and I would add also, do you see when you know, especially women and men as well, when get separated and break up and divorce, they start to look really good. They start to go to the gym. So it's that energy as well of really starting to have that relationship with you, and what would I like to do? What does my body want it to be, you know, to look like? And you start to have that intimacy with you that sometimes, you know, some of us, we lose it because we kind of immerse with the other person in that relationship, and you're gonna forget of, you know, where you are and who you are and what do you like and enjoy so much on, you know, being and creating. And that to me, it's one of the biggest things. And that's how and why I like talking about breaking up is easy as well, because there is a gift on it. You know, you can go through rough patches in the beginning, of course, but there's also that gift of having more of me, definitely, after having breaking up.
Yeah. I think, and that's the thing ultimately, is like, there should always be more of you, whether you choose to be in a relationship, whether you choose to break up your relationship, like having all of you is like the minimum requirement of like any choice, right? So, and that's what's really cool about so many of these tools and conversations that we talked about in Access Consciousness, is that it's all geared towards you having more of you. And I think like that's the great kind of like wrap up of this conversation of breaking up is easy-ish, is that when you're actually willing to have more of you, and that is the demand for you, it's like the universe immediately has your back and allows you to grow and contributes to you choosing and presents possibilities that you might not have even known were possible before.
I love that.
So, is there anything else, Leandra, or do we have any other topics that we want to address with the breakup?
I would say just, you know, be kind to you, take it easy, and, you know, be in question, be present with what you want to change and create, and with the other person and whoever, your kids. And yeah, ask questions. And we looked at so much now already here. And as in, you know, there is so much that you can think, always think, but when you start to be and create and ask those questions, then I think the change comes with so much ease.
1000% awesome. Well, if you like this episode, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you're watching it on video, hello, thank you for being here, because we also have this streaming on YouTube. And obviously you can find this where you get all of your podcasts. Make sure to click subscribe. And if you loved it, tell your friends, and, you know, post it on social, tag Relationships Done Different. And we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, Leandra. That was a fun conversation.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Stop recording.